Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News, March 29th, 2019. Folks, I'm going to go over some information with you that has come across my desk over the last couple of days. And this is going to be dealing with extreme weather and also extreme space weather. So not only do we have to worry about rain, snow, blizzards, hurricanes, cyclones, and flooding, we're also going to be worrying about space weather, the effects on the from the sun on the Earth. And I'll get into all of that very soon here. My headline reads, Extreme weather affected 62 million people in 2018. And those numbers will rise in 2019. So it is best to be prepared. Now, the number of 62 million, this has come out in a United Nations report, and also the World Meteorology report that comes from one organization. I beg to differ on the 62 million. I believe that number is much, much higher, if not even doubled. And the reason why I say that, and a lot of you know by now, I am an extreme weather watcher. I have been for more than 20 years. I study it and I watch it every single day. And what I saw occurring in 2016 and 17, and what I saw occur in 2018 was just literally off the chart. Extreme rainfall in many, many different parts of the world, extreme flooding, massive cyclones, typhoons, hurricanes, and then you get into the wintertime, extreme amounts of snow and these bomb cyclones, which we just saw one rip through the center part of the United States 2 weeks ago. So I think they are downplaying this 62 million. However, I don't have my own accurate figures. But just based on what I saw and what I reported on last year was just absolutely incredible. And from what I'm seeing now, the situation is going to get worse. Much, much worse. You know, some people may say, oh, Scott's just fear-mongering again. Call it whatever you want, folks. The facts are the facts. And what we're seeing around the world, well, those are facts. But before we get into all of this, I wanted to show you folks something that's very interesting. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and jump out of here. And Mark from the Blue Kool-Aid channel sent me over a photograph the other day, and I was pretty thrown back by it, because over the last couple of weeks, myself and many other people around the world have been capturing very, very odd things in the sky. Once again, we're back to these odd shapes in the sky. Triangular patterns, rectangular patterns, square patterns. I myself photographed what we're looking at now, a square-looking sun with a grid pattern behind it within the cloud cover. And a lot of you should remember that. It was just 2 weeks ago. This photograph that Mark sent over to me was captured by one of his subscribers. His name's Skip. He's from Tucson, Arizona. And he captured this photograph back on March 17th. And nothing has been done to this photograph. There's no color changes or anything of that nature. But what do you see right dead center in the middle of your screen is once again this square-looking sun. Well, I myself don't believe that is the real sun. And we resort back to the sun simulator. And Jeff P. does some great analytical work talking about the sun simulator. And you guys should definitely subscribe to his YouTube channel, Jeff P., and also Mark's channel, Blue Kool-Aid. And I'll put the links in the description box and also in the live chat. But this is a very, very odd photograph. And again, these photographs, I believe, around the same time that Skip took this photograph, I was taking my photograph. And then another gentleman sent me a photograph that he took from his vehicle driving down the highway, and he caught the same thing. So it's just not me, it's many, many others. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look, and you know what, let me zoom into that so you guys can check that out. And you can see the very, very bright array coming from this so-called sun. Now, Mark did a really, really good video, a really good analysis of this photograph. And I will put the link to his video in the live chat. And after you guys watch this stream, you should definitely check his video out. He did a great job with his analysis. But again, if you were shining a light source, say for instance, well, how can I say it? Like through a funnel or reflectors, mirrors, something of that nature, you would get these types of arrays. And these are very, very defined. And then you can see the rest of the light scattering. So how is it possible that you can get a completely square sun? You could almost see behind it here something not normal, something man-made. Very, very mysterious. I believe Mark changed the coloring on this, put it through a few filters, and sent me over the photographs. And again, you could almost designate, by following my cursor, that square pattern, the internal square pattern, and then something in the middle. So it's almost like this light is being projected somehow. And then people say, oh, well, you know, how can we get heat from that? How can that heat the earth? Well, folks, in many, many ways. But number one, talking about heating the earth, well, they're out there chemtrailing every single day. And I believe the majority of the chemtrailing is to maybe possibly deflect a lot of these cosmic rays, solar radiation coming in from the sun now that we're dipping into this solar minimum. And the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, you know, on a daily basis. It's getting worse. And going into that solar minimum, well, you know, that's going to last for 11 years. I've heard some reports that it can actually extend out to 15 years. By then, I'll be collecting Social Security, if there's anything left in that fund. But anyhow, anywho, and anyway, again, here we are, people around the world capturing very odd things with the sun. Let me go over, and here is an inverted photograph that Mark changed and inverted the color of the photograph. And again, it kind of gives you that perfect square definition right dead center where the light source is. So once again, I'm not the only one capturing this. Many, many other people are capturing this so-called phenomenon. I don't even know if you want to call it that. Here is the photograph that I captured. You can see the square sun here. You can see that grid pattern. And then another gentleman captures the same thing. Heavy chemtrailing everywhere. Stratospheric aerosol injection, whatever you want to call it. So we have multiple photographs being taken by many, many different people in different locations. And that's what we're getting. This photograph was sent in to me. And again, I thought this was just absolutely insane. What can that possibly be? You can possibly say, hey, you know, that might be the shadow of a large UFO craft. Hell, folks, anything's possible in this day and time. Let me get a sip of my coffee here. Man, I make the best coffee. But again, folks, you know, looking at photographs like this, you know, you tend to wonder what the hell is going on in our skies. So many oddities up there. Just absolutely amazing. Now, I want to jump into what this report is talking about with our weather. And once again, you know, the world organizations, many, many countries, you know, their governments. Here in the United States, they're talking about climate change on a daily basis. So it states here that last year in the United States alone, we saw 14 weather and climate-related disasters where the devastation cost more than $1 billion each, with a total of some $49 billion. So about $49 billion worth of damage and also displacement. It states that the 44-page report says floods affected 35 million people. Drought hit another 9 million people, adding to the problem of growing enough food to feed the world. That's a big problem, folks. And the record damage that we've just seen in the Midwest part of the United States, in Nebraska, we're going to feel that. Many, many heads of cattle lost. Pigs, you know, people like hot dogs and pork chops and ribs, gone. The ground, still saturated. Can you grow anything on that ground whenever the water recedes? Probably not. The next mark here was ocean heat reached a record high, and the oceans are getting more acidic and losing oxygen. Well, for all of the marine life, this is now leading me to think more about all of the marine life die-off, the fish kill. We're moving into some very, very devastating times, folks. That much is a fact. It goes on to further state that with some exceptions, glaciers are melting and ice in the polar oceans is shrinking. And you've heard me talk about this over and over and over and over again pertaining to the North Pole, the loss of ice, the addition of new ice, which is very thin, the reflection factor, albedo, the sun reflecting off of the thin ice, is very minimal. So the solar rays aren't being reflected back into space as they would if they were beaming down on very thick and ancient ice. Then we get into this factor. The level, the level of carbon dioxide in the air hits record highs. And this is where they start to kind of cover things up, at least in my thought process. And if you know anything about how carbon dioxide is formed, you have carbon molecules, you have oxygen molecules. Combined, they'll form carbon dioxide. We know that plants give off carbon dioxide. They live off of carbon dioxide. I apologize. Humans give off carbon dioxide whenever we exhale. Sorry about that mistake. And I was so good in science. I can't believe I made that mistake. But getting into this, they start blaming carbon fuels, the burning of coal. Well, you've all heard the stories. They blame man for the increase in this carbon dioxide. Now, we have carbon dioxide that is a natural gas within our atmosphere around the Earth, but naturally in very low levels. So once again, they blame man for all of these increases in carbon dioxide. Well, here's the thing, folks. They're saying that this increase is pretty substantial, and it's getting worse. But they're showing elevations in this carbon dioxide during certain times of year. Now, here's my general idea. Going back 3 years ago, we started having these devastating fires. We've all seen them. We've all had our conspiracy theories pertaining to these fires that last for weeks and weeks and weeks and burning, thousands and tens of thousands and millions of acres. Well, what happens when you burn fossil fuels? Wood is one of those fossil fuels. When all of these forests are burning for weeks on end, where is the smoke going? Straight up, naturally. What's within that smoke? Carbon dioxide. What is fueling these fires? Is man truly the biggest fault in the increase in carbon dioxide? When you have massive fires burning in the state of California for weeks on end, not once, not twice, 3 times. And then you have these same fires year after year after year. And they're not just happening here in the United States. Right now, you have fires burning in the country of Portugal. We have seen this now consistently over the course of the last couple of years. So with massive forest fires burning for weeks on end, what do you think is going to happen? Yes, you are correct. We are going to see very high increases in carbon dioxide. Very critical levels, I might add. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to this next slide. I was looking at some information on NOAA, and again, dealing with the flood factors. Stated down here in the red box, 200 million Americans will be impacted by elevated flood risks this spring. Folks, last week and the week before, I was studying everything that was going on, and I was trying to see if I could see a trend that was going to occur, for the future. And I mean the future meaning, this spring and summer. And well, I was pretty spot on. Now that their reports are coming out, and I was talking about this 2 and 3 weeks ago, well, here we are. So once again, dealing with this area right here where the letter A is, you can see it's a much darker green. We're going to be dealing with much more flooding in these areas. Folks, if you don't know, well, this is the heartland of America. There is a lot of farming, a lot of cattle raising, a lot right here. This is your food. This is your food right there. And then, just moving outside of that area, look how expansive that area is. We're possibly looking at some very tragic situations that are going to occur this year. And then moving back over here from central Texas all the way across the southeast and all the way up to the northeast, this is all flooding. This is all flooding. So again, just based on the map, and where you live on this map, what I'm trying to say is heed my warning, be prepared. Because it seems that the storms are getting much more intense. I was watching some video yesterday that was sent to me about a hailstorm that ripped through a community in Florida. Oh my Lord, ping pong golf ball size hailstones. There was a situation last week, total devastation in the country of Iran. The flooding was so bad. It was just complete devastation. What has happened in Mozambique, in Africa? My Lord. A cyclone smashed into their shores and literally made its way, flooding-wise, over 100 miles inland. They were literally picking people out of the trees by helicopter to save them. Now, total devastation in that country. They're already poor enough. But now, the land is completely underwater. The same situation is applying right here in our country, out in the Midwest. So heed my warning on these topics. Once again, Midwest experiences record level flooding. Towns and farmland have been destroyed after being inundated with water. Folks, Many of you are probably familiar with the Edgar Cayce map and that map that has been floating around for years, the U.S. Naval Flood Map that shows a huge swath of water up the Mississippi, the expansion being almost 100 miles. Lost coastline, Florida disappears. Part of California disappears. Wow. When I saw this, and this was as of March 21st, 2019, just a few days ago. Wow. Look at this. 2 and 3 weeks ago, I talked about, during one of my live streams, the potential threat along the Canadian border with all of these northern Midwestern states. Well, if you take a look at the color chart right here, the flood category, anything in this fuchsia pink color, major flood risk. You could see the amount of area for that major flood risk. And then you could see it makes its way all the way down the Mississippi River. Moving on to moderate flooding in the red, well, you can see how expansive that area is. And leading all over here into eastern Texas, parts of Louisiana. Minor flooding in the gold color. Well, it's about half of the United States of America. And remember, folks, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned the Sierra Nevada mountains. All of the snowpack up there, the huge, heavy amounts of snow that have occurred this year, and going into the latter part of 2018, the winter time. I think this minor flooding, I think they are well off the mark here. My biggest fear is that this whole swath of area here along the Sierra Nevada mountains is going to be in this fuchsia pink color. Major flooding. Because, folks, as the temperatures increase going into the spring and summer, where do you think all of that snow melt is going to go? It's going to roll off to the west. It's going to roll off to the east, straight down the mountains and into communities at the foothills of these mountains, creating landslides, mudslides, torrential flooding. As you can see, it will make its way into Nevada, all the way up into Idaho. There's a small patch right here that will receive moderate flooding. But in actuality, this whole area, all of these areas, can receive very extensive damage. Along with that damage comes the displacement of people losing their homes, losing everything they own, and the most extreme, losing their lives. So these are some of the things that we're going to contend with very, very soon. Very soon. I mean, within the next week or two. Because from what I'm seeing, it's not looking very good. The amounts of precipitation, I've been following this also very, very closely. The observed change in very heavy rainfall. Okay, this chart goes back to 1958. So charting from the late 1950s to where we are at right now, we've seen a 12% increase here in this section. Washington, Oregon, Idaho. 5% in the extreme southwest, which includes California, Nevada, New Mexico. Okay, now they have been under a drought in this area. But now that drought is over. And they will probably be inundated in some of these areas, inundated with flooding and landslides and mudslides. Throughout the central part of the United States, from Montana all the way to Texas, a 16% increase in heavy precipitation, heavy rain. States like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, state of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Missouri, 37% increase. The South, 27% increase. And the highest level of heavy precipitation up 71% in the Northeast. West Virginia, Pennsylvania, where I live, the state of New York, all of these states, all of the small states right along the Atlantic seaboard, New Jersey. Hey, this is going to include Washington, D.C. Maybe they'll get a nice flood in there and clean out all of those dirty politicians. And then you have, the South here, 27%. We all know the state of Florida is just relatively flat. You have a lot of areas here along the coast that, they're not very far above sea level, folks. So the flooding can be just absolutely devastating. And this doesn't even take into account what's about to occur. One of the biggest things I'm worried about right now is what this hurricane season is going to bring us. My gut feeling is telling me that we may not see a really, really super active hurricane season in the Atlantic. I'm really starting to think that we may see a very active hurricane season in the Gulf of Mexico. And when you get the hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico, well, they're kind of in this little teacup. They're going to hit land, whether it be Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, or the panhandle of Florida. And then they make their way up in here, possibly even all the way up north. We've seen extremes in the way that this weather pattern is. And the jet streams have this huge trough, and it's just like a flowing trough. Low pressures up here, high pressures down here, and the stream right in between, pushing all of it straight over to the northeast. The big problem that we see in this area are these tornadoes. Tornado Alley, no longer out in the Midwest. It's all right here. Something that we're going to have to watch very, very carefully. The biggest problem with these tornadoes is they can just spawn instantly. And not just one. 5, 10, 20 tornadoes. Things are really, really getting serious. And we're going to have to watch very closely our weather. Late century projections. Here's wintertime. You can see the change in precipitation. Big changes here. You could go by your chart. And that's in the winter. And then we have it here in the spring. It states that the Midwest experiencing record levels of flooding. Once again, towns and farmlands have been destroyed after being inundated with water. You see way up here, the state of Alaska. We haven't talked very much about Alaska, but temperatures in Alaska have been going up, getting warmer. Look right there. That's in the darkest green color on the chart, which would probably put that, I'd say probably between 40 and 50% of an increase in the winter, and almost, I would say probably a good 2/3 of the state, and that would be over here in the spring. So we may be seeing the state of Alaska in the news quite a bit throughout the spring and this summer. This is just taking a look at the heartland. This is coming out of Nebraska. Folks, you can't even see to the other end how much flooding is here. The picture's a little deceiving because, well, maybe you think that that's just a few inches of water. No. You see these objects right here, folks? These rectangles sticking up out of the water? Those are rooftops. Rooftops. You can barely see the houses. So we're looking at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet of water. How much water do you think that it would take to cover this large building, or this building here, or this building here? Look out here. It looks like a massive lake because that is what it has been turned into. Now, what I was just talking about, the way that this weather pattern has been affecting the United States and many other countries. I mean, we could blame it all on the jet stream because the jet stream is just absolutely, completely erratic. And, probably like 6 months ago, I had mentioned that what I was seeing and what I was studying and observing was showing me that the jet stream was going to be making a very, very, very far dip down. And when the jet stream does something like that, which is rare, it's going to pull all of that cold air straight down from the Arctic and up here in Canada. What did it do? It did just that. So the majority of all of the heavy snow you saw through this region. You saw the jet stream dipping down and then soaring back up. And in the meantime, way down here in the south, you saw the jet stream pulling up warm air, keeping all of this area relatively moderate. But when you start interacting a low and a high and you merge them together, you're going to get storms, you're going to get heavy amounts of rain, and you're definitely going to get tornadoes spawning. So this is what's been occurring throughout the entire winter here in the United States. So again, things aren't going to get any better. They're actually going to get worse. Talking about the cyclone that smashed into the coast of Mozambique in Africa. Wow, folks, I mean, just total devastation. These people were definitely not expecting that. I mean, they've been hit with storms before, but nothing like this. Unprecedented. That is the new key word that all meteorologists are using. All climatologists are now using. Unprecedented. Remember? We've never seen anything like this before. We've never seen anything like this before. You're going to continue to hear that. This red area that you see here in this satellite photograph, this is how far the water made its way inland. This is the area in Mozambique that is underwater. Completely underwater. They did not even foresee this happening. The storm surge from that cyclone was over 20 feet. Could you imagine if a storm surge over 20 feet hit any of the coastal area of the state of Florida? Yeah. We're talking big time damage. Big time. And we may possibly see this upcoming spring, summer, and fall. So it is best to keep yourself prepared. Make sure that you have everything that you need to get yourself out of Dodge. A definite evacuation plan. Most definitely. Just yesterday, folks, real quick, I wanted to show you this. Just yesterday, we've been seeing the increase in earthquake activity. I knew this was going to come based on the solar activity coming from the sun, and, I talked about it quite a bit. I've been putting all of this information on our new private network, and if you guys aren't members of that yet, I'll put a link in the live chat. The information is in the description box under our videos. Like I said, I'm not going to be censored by YouTube and Facebook anymore. I know some of you don't like the idea, but it is what it is. And I wanted to create this network for people, and this was one of the ways to do it. But getting back to this chart, that geomagnetic storm came in, even though it was a weak geomagnetic storm. Remember, the Earth's magnetic field is now weakened, so even a moderate geomagnetic storm will create seismic activity, increased seismic activity on our planet, as well as volcanoes going off, and that just happened 48 hours ago. Okay, we had a couple volcanoes popping off, and they're still going. But as you can see here, all around the Yellowstone caldera, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that is the caldera right there. That was very alarming whenever I saw that. And then, at the same time, on the other side of the Earth, bingo, there you go. Magnitude 6.1 goes off, and these were all, these earthquakes here were all in the magnitude of the small fives to mid fives. Bing, 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 bing. There they go. So we're definitely seeing some increases in activity on the sun. And I'm going to go ahead and jump over here real quick. This was the actual report, and this is from the World Meteorological Organization. And I'll put a link to this in the live chat so you guys can check it out. And if you want to read this, it's pretty alarming. What I wanted to show you some key points. We have to move down here, and what they're touching on. You get a sip of my coffee here. What they're touching on here, as you can see, food security, displacement. And what they mean by food security, well, hell, that speaks for itself. Our world food supplies, and here in this country, can be devastated. We're already seeing that devastation right now. Displacement. Millions and millions of people. I think these numbers are going to grow by the time we get to the end of 2019. I think we will surpass the numbers for last year. And once again, we got heat and air quality and health. All of these things are going to be on the incline and decline. The Earth is warming up, folks. Do not let anybody fool you. The oceans are warming up. I was reading a climatology report where some of the average temperatures in these oceans are above 84 degrees. Then it goes on to talk about environmental impacts. Further down, ocean heat. Here we go. Sea level. Ocean, the acidity factor within our oceans. This is all devastating information to the Earth, where we live. Once again, sea ice. You know, folks, I don't just make this stuff up. I do my homework every single day. So does Dr. Albers. Now world organizations are coming out and now they're telling you. But some of their information's a little skewed. They're leaving a lot of things out. The main factor that they're leaving out is the root cause. Have you noticed that you didn't hear very much about climate change in 2016, 17, and 18? You didn't hear about that till 2019, and then they started throwing around those words, climate change, climate change. Oh my, we have to do something now. Oh my, red alert, red alert. It's too late. And even if you wanted to do something about it, folks, man does not have the technology to do anything about it. I know what the problem is. I've been preaching about it for years, and I've been showing all of you the evidence. And since 2016, I've been forecasting everything that I just showed you. And we're only in stage 1. This is just the beginning. There's more information here about the Greenland ice sheet that they're, horribly worried about now. And the same thing about glaciers retreating quickly, very fast retreat. So this information was just released yesterday, as you can see right here. Published 28th of March, 2019. They compiled all the data. They put all their little tinfoil hats on. And they compiled this report for all of us. I just watched a news report this morning on CBS World News. And they were interviewing their own meteorologist. He was using that word, unprecedented. I swear he must have used it 20 times. So that's where we're at, folks. We're now living in unprecedented times. I think preparation at this time is key. Knowledge and understanding about what is happening is also very, very important. Then you have these other people out there that tell you, oh, take off that tinfoil hat. Yeah. You just may need that tinfoil hat to save your brain from all of the cosmic rays that are going to be pounding this planet continuously. The increase in solar radiation, which is going to lead to the increases in cancer, especially skin cancer. For all of you that work outside for a living during the summer, protect yourself. Wear light colored clothing, wear long sleeves, make sure you have a hat on. Don't go outside wearing black clothing. You want to wear something of a reflective color, like, the neon yellow, or the construction yellow, or even white if you have to. We're also starting to see some activity on the sun, and it's kind of just come out of nowhere, and we'll get into that in a second. But I just wanted to show you guys, this geomagnetic storm that was really, really slow getting to the Earth, coming from that CME about more than a week ago. It was really, really slow moving. And I figured, okay, well, that's kind of not good, because if it's slow moving, then the impact's going to be longer lasting. And just about 6 hours ago, there was a magnitude 4.19 right off of the coast of California. We could zoom in. It wasn't on the land, but it was really, really close. You can see right there. The depth was 25 kilometers deep. They erased a lot of the earthquakes after about 24 hours on this map. 7 hours ago, down in El Salvador, Alaska, you could see all of the activity up here in Alaska. There were some strange earthquakes just a few days ago in the, I believe it was the western part of North Carolina, right around the border of Tennessee and North Carolina. People were calling their local police departments because they heard a loud boom. What these folks heard, they actually heard the earthquake because it was shallow. And it was, I believe it was right along either the east or the west side of the mountains right here. Just click on the satellite version. I don't have the exact town that occurred in. I could actually pull up the USGS and we could actually take a look at it real quick. We'll have to pull up the 7 days, all magnitude. Going to slow things down, but who cares? Let's change this to a street view. And let's open this bad boy up. Okay. We had 2 earthquakes here. Greensboro, magnitude 2.6. And then right in the mountains, another magnitude 2.6. Very, very, very small one here, magnitude 1.5. I believe the earthquake that people heard and called, I was listening to 911 reports, and the people said it sounded like a sonic boom. And I believe it was coming from this area right here, just south of Greensboro, if my memory is coming back to me about that report. That's kind of odd and strange. And then again, folks, I'm not sure on where those calls were coming from. But there's also another town here, Franklin, and that's right in the mountains. We could zoom in a little further. So I'm not sure about that, where those people actually heard it. But it was one of those 2 earthquakes that people actually heard it. Not only did they feel it, they heard it. Very, very interesting. Once again, folks, before I close out, our new Planet X News private membership site It's going fantastic. We have 95 subscribers already. I've been putting up daily information for everybody. And this was the volcano. Popo is going off, blasting off. You can see it right here. Boom. And that occurred right at the time we were getting hit with this geomagnetic storm. All of a sudden, AccuWeather, you know, one of the other weather channels, they did a video about space weather. And that information is also right here. And I am able to share our YouTube videos right here. You're not seeing all of the information, folks, because I'm actually logged out right now. But I have all kinds of information in here. I'm producing shorter videos, 5 or 6 minutes long. You know, I'm giving out a lot of info that I can't put out on YouTube because now they're getting more and more and more strict. The same thing is applying for Facebook. I mean, I'm sick and tired of having my Facebook pages suspended for complete nonsense. And Facebook's being sued from politicians, and they're being fined from other organizations in Europe, and the European Union's suing them and fining them, and the UK is fining them, and Google was just fined, and they're doing all of this censorship. And I'm just not down with it. I am just sick and tired of dealing with it. It is the biggest waste of my time trying to fight these social media companies. I'm sick of it. There has been a little bit of backlash about the new subscription site here for Planet X News. Some people will get over it, but the people who are having the biggest problem with it are the troll babies and all of their fake YouTube accounts. They're in the comment section under the videos, making all of their stupid comments. And now, you know, I've seen this huge rash of people in the comment section that I've never seen before. Scott, I've been a long-time subscriber of yours for years. How can you do this? And then, when I go into my analytics and I look you up, wow, you've been a long-time subscriber, huh? You just subscribed today in order to leave your derogatory comment. So you guys, you know, you troll babies, you got to get a little bit better than that. I had a big backlash on my video that I did pertaining to Dave Dobbs. And people telling me that I was, you know, oh, you absolute bastard, you. Oh, how could you say that was an airplane? Folks, I showed every one of you the proof. The fraud. When it comes to Planet X observations and investigations on YouTube, hey, listen, you know, I see it all. 95% of it is garbage. They give you nothing. Nothing. No scientific evidence. No explanation. Nothing. They're just out there for the YouTube views and maybe some of the notoriety. I can give a shit less about all of that. My main goal is the exposure and the truth and waking everybody up to what is happening. And slowly but surely, we are reaching people. We are reaching people around the world. And yes, people are opening up their eyes. And yes, people are asking questions. And little by little, the governments around the world, they're kind of easing information out there. Now, chemtrailing is no longer called chemtrailing. It's stratospheric aerosol injections or solar geoengineering. You can't even mention the word chemtrailing, but I will, because I don't care. I don't care what the social media companies think. They're abusers. You think that they would use their platforms to get the word out, but no, they censor you. They prevent that information from flowing around the globe in a millisecond. They don't want your information going viral. They prevent it. It's called dethrottling. Dethrottling your YouTube channel, dethrottling your Facebook page. I've investigated it. I've gotten in touch with a few other investigative journalists that I've been doing some work with now on the side, and we're exposing some of this. It needs to be exposed. But folks, do what you can in the very near future about subscribing to our private platform. It's working very well. Very, very well. You're able to reach me by a private message here. I can answer those messages. And here's the thing. When I'm posting this information, once you set up your membership, now when I put data up on this site and this page, you do get a notification. It will be sent to you in your email. And then, at your convenience, you can go and sit down, take about 30 minutes, maybe an hour, whatever you have, and sit and scroll through the information that I have posted. And again, folks, it's being posted on a daily basis. And I'm able to cover a lot of subjects that YouTube states are against their rules and their policies. Don't talk about the word floods, because they'll hammer your video. But yet, the big news giants, well, they can show you videos about the floods and the devastation, and they could put that word in their title, and they can talk about it, and nothing happens. But let a hardcore truther channel get out there and tell you the real truth and nothing but the truth. So help us God. They will dethrottle your YouTube channel so fast, it will make your head spin. I'm sorry if I've offended anybody by the choice that I have made to create this membership platform. But I had to do what I had to do. And somehow, some way, where there's a will, there's a way. And if you want to join us right here, you will find that way. You will. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your time this morning. Pay very close attention to your weather. Make sure that you are getting prepared, because by the outlook that I see for our very, very near future, it's looking bleak. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. We need those answers. We need to create this network. having a private network, I think, is the best answer. Because then I can speak with each and every one of you in this format freely. I don't have to watch my words. I don't have to watch what I say. I don't have to watch what information I'm showing you just to please a social media giant. A bunch of snowflakes sitting out there in Silicon Valley, out there in California. I'm just not down with it. I will not bow down to those people. I just will not. I still will be posting some information from time to time on our YouTube channel as you're listening to me now. But the real brunt of the information, you're going to find it right here on our Hardcore Truther private membership site. Cut and dry. Join up now. Get over there, hit the subscribe button, set your membership up, and feel at ease. It's $10 a month. We also have a $5 membership, which gives you, limited access, but trust me, folks, the $10 a month gives you full access to everything, videos, updates, reports, the whole 9 yards. And I'm working on instituting a few more things, which will give you even more access. So you just stay tuned. You just hang in there with Planet X News. You won't be disappointed. I'm going to go ahead and sign off right now, folks. You guys have a fantastic weekend. Keep your eyes and your ears wide open for what's happening with your weather. And remember, keep an eye in the sky. Take those photographs. You never know when you are going to catch something that is of significance. Like the photographs we looked at today of the square sun. This is Scott from Planet X News. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there, folks, and take care.